You've studied a lot of cults and occultism. What do you think is the power of that mystical experience?
Well, what is broadly referred to, well, we get into what's occultism? What's the occult? Occult is the hidden. That's all it really means, specifically hidden from sight. And the basis of it is the idea that what is hidden? Well, what is hidden from us is most of the world, most of reality. So the basic concept within occultism, the basic concept within most religions, which are approved forms of occultism, is that the world, the physical world that we are aware of, is only a very small part of a much larger reality. And that what the methods and practices of occultism arguably do is to allow someone to either enter into this larger reality or to access that larger reality for purposes to be exploited here. The most interesting statement about, and a key element of this becomes the thing called magic. Now, we all know magic, it's a guy standing on stage performing a trick. But the interesting thing about a stage magician is that a stage magician is, we know when we're watching this that it's a trick. Yet we can't really figure out, if he does it well, how that trick is being accomplished because it seems to defy physical laws. And that's what's fascinating about it. So even though you know it's a trick, if you can't figure it out, it has this kind of power of fascination. But it's mimicking something. Stage magic is mimicking real magic. So it's real magic. Well, let's go back to Aleister Crowley because, he always has to come. I knew he was going to come up at some point in this earlier than that because he always does.
All roads lead to Aleister Crowley.
All roads lead to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley, and I've said this enough so I should be able to get it right, but I'm paraphrasing here. He goes, magic, which of course he spelled with a K or CK, is the art and science of causing change to occur in conformity with will. So in a way that's sort of mind over matter, but it's the idea that one can, through will, through intention, bend reality to make something happen. Somebody once put it this way, it's tipping the luck plane. And so, you got some kind of a level plane. What we're trying to do is just tip it just a little bit so the marble rolls over one side or another. Now, that presupposes a lot of things. That is there a luck plane? I don't know. But, it's a good sort of idea to have. And here again, don't become overly bothered trying to figure out whether you actually can bend reality. Become bothered by the fact that there are people who believe that they can and will go to great efforts to do so and will often believe they have succeeded. So it's this effort to make things occur in a particular way, maybe just to sort of nudge reality in one little way or another. And that's where things like rituals come in. Rituals are a way of focusing will and attention. We're all there. We're all thinking about the same thing. And you have to imagine just how, but the pervasiveness of what could be called that kind of magical thinking that every day is everywhere. So let me give you an example. You ever attended a high school football pep rally?
Mm-hmm.
Think of what's going on there. Okay, your team is going to battle the other team. You've now assembled everyone in the gymnasium. You've got people who are dancing around in animal totem costumes. And what are you chanting? Everyone is supposed to chant that, that the other team dies, okay, that you will be horribly defeated and that our team will be victorious. That is a magic ritual. The idea is, it becomes into this idea that's very popular today about visualizing things. Manifesting. I love this term. You need to manifest your success. Well, that's just magic. That is trying to cause change in conformity with will. So these things can happen without you being even consciously aware of what's going on. And you don't need to be, because if you're all a part of the mob, which is there in the gymnasium, and you get into this and you get worked up, an occultist would argue what you're doing is you're creating a huge amount of energy. All of these people are putting energy into something, and that energy goes somewhere. And maybe you can, maybe, just maybe, you actually can slightly increase the chances of your team's victory. Of course, your opponents are having their own ritual at the same time, so whoever has the bigger mojo will apparently win on the team.
So that's I would say, trivial example of that, but a clear one. But I do believe that there's incredible power in groups of humans getting together and morphing reality. I think that's probably one of the things that made human civilization what it is. Groups of people being able to believe a thing and bring that belief into reality.
Yes, you're exactly right. To conceive of something, and then through intention, will, to manifest that into this realm.
And of course, that power of the collective mind can be leveraged by charismatic leaders to do all kinds of stuff, where you get cults that do, horrible things, or anything.
There might be a cult that does good things. I don't know. It depends.
We usually
don't
call
those cults.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, 100%.
Without endorsing this entirely, an interesting, one of the questions, what's the difference between a cult and a religion?
Mm-hmm.
And it has been said that in the case of a cult, there's always someone at the top who knows what's going on. Generally, who knows it's a scam. In a religion, that person is dead. So, see, I've just managed to insult every single religion. But it's an interesting way of thinking about it, because I think there is some degree of accuracy in that statement.
Do you think, actually, the interesting psychological question is, in cults, do you think the person at the top always knows that it's a scam? Do you think there's something about the human mind where you gradually begin to
believe your own bullshit?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
that seems to be
that again is part of magic, I think, is believing your own bullshit. It doesn't necessarily mean that the head of the cult realized, but there's someone, maybe the second, I always sort of look in the lieutenant, someone probably has an idea about what's going on. The other thing that seems to be a kind of dead giveaway for what we would call a cult is what's called excessive reverence for the leader. People just believe everything these people say. I give you an example of the first time I ever encountered anything like that was in Santa Barbara, California in the 1970s. I was going to grad school, and there was a particular cult locally, which I think was Brotherhood of the Sun. And it was the same. So there was some guy who was, among the other things, followers were convinced to hand over all their money and personal belongings to him. I believe he used part of that money to buy a yacht with. Anyway, a lot of it went to him. And then, of course, working for free upon different cult-owned business enterprises, of which there were several. And there was a person I knew who became a devoted follower of this, and it was all I could think of at one point was ask them, what the hell is the matter with you? I mean, have you lost your mind? Why would you? What is it that this person can possibly be providing that you essentially are going to become a slave to them, which is what they were doing? And I actually give that credit in a way of sort of sparking my whole interest in things like secret societies. And here again, as a disclaimer, I am not now, nor have I ever been, the member of any fraternal organization, secret society, or cult that I know of. And that's what interests me about them. Because I'm just always trying to figure out why people do these things. Like I said, why the robes and the owl? Why?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? And it's trying to figure it out. I mean, I couldn't even hack the Boy Scouts. Okay, that was too much of there. Because to me, you join an organization, and the first thing that comes along is there are rules, and someone is telling you what to do. Okay, I don't like people telling me what to do. Spent much of my life trying to avoid that as much as possible. And join a cult. There's going to be someone telling you what to do. Join the Bohemian Club, and there's going to be someone telling you what to do. And obviously, a lot of people really get something out of that. It becomes, in some ways, it's sort of necessary for them to function. But I do not understand it, and my study of it is a personal error to try to understand why people do that.
And there's so many reasons. Primary of which I would say is the desire in the human heart to belong.
Yes.
Right?